Have you ever felt like a shadow has fallen over your life, a weight you can't quite explain but feel in every single breath? It's a feeling that can make the brightest days seem gray and the simplest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. This is often what trauma feels like. It's not just a bad memory. It's an experience that rewrites your body's and mind's responses to the world. Today, I want to share a story with you. A story about a young girl named Njeri and her journey through the tangled maze of trauma and towards the light of healing. Njeri was a bright, cheerful girl. She loved school, especially her literature class. Her laughter was infectious and her curiosity was endless. She saw the world as a book of adventures waiting to be read. But one day, a chapter began that she never asked for. Her teacher, Mr. X, was someone she was supposed to trust, someone who was meant to guide her through the world of stories and knowledge. Instead, he started to cross lines that should never be crossed. It began subtly. An inappropriate comment disguised as a joke, a hand that lingered too long on her shoulder. Njeri felt a knot of confusion and discomfort tighten in her stomach. She told herself she was probably overthinking it, that it was just his way of being friendly. But the knot didn't go away. Soon, the comments became more direct, the touches more invasive. The classroom, once her sanctuary, started to feel like a trap. The fear was constant. She started finding excuses to miss school. Her grades, once a source of pride, began to plummet. The girl who loved to read couldn't focus on a single page. The world of stories that once brought her so much joy now felt distant and colorless. She stopped talking to her friends, pushing away anyone who tried to get close. She felt isolated, trapped in a silent scream that no one could hear. She believed it was her fault, that she had somehow invited this, a heavy cloak of shame she wore everywhere she went. The vibrant, happy Njeri was disappearing, replaced by a quiet, anxious girl who was afraid of her own shadow. Her parents noticed the change. Their bubbly daughter was gone. She was withdrawn, irritable, and often lost in thought. They tried to talk to her, but the words were locked away, buried under layers of fear and shame. They didn't know what was happening, but they knew they needed to get her help. It's a crucial step that many parents face, recognizing that something is wrong, even when you don't have all the answers. Their journey for help led them to a psychiatrist, Dr. Otieno. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor who specializes in mental health, including diagnosing and treating complex conditions like the ones stemming from trauma. When Njeri first met him, she could barely make eye contact. Speaking about what happened felt impossible, like trying to describe a monster that lived only in her nightmares. Dr. Otieno was patient and kind. He listened. He didn't push. He created a safe space where the silence wasn't judged. He explained to Njeri and her parents that what she was experiencing was a normal reaction to an abnormal event. He diagnosed her with post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Finally having a name for the storm inside her was a small relief. It meant she wasn't crazy. It meant there was a path forward. Dr. Otieno explained that trauma isn't just in the mind. It gets stored in the body. The constant state of high alert, the jumpiness, the inability to relax, these were all her body as way of trying to protect her from a threat that was no longer physically present but felt very real. He explained that medication could help manage some of the most overwhelming symptoms, like severe anxiety and sleep disturbances, allowing her the mental space to engage in therapy. Dr. Otieno then referred Njeri to a clinical psychologist who specialized in trauma therapy. This is a very common and effective approach. A psychiatrist often manages the biological aspects, while a psychologist guides the patient through the therapeutic process. The psychologist became Njeri's guide on the difficult path of healing. Their sessions were her safe harbor. In that room, she slowly, carefully, began to unpack the heavy baggage she had been carrying. She learned about her trauma responses. She learned that avoiding things that reminded her of the trauma was a natural defense mechanism, but it was also keeping her trapped. The psychologist introduced her to different therapeutic techniques. One of them was talk therapy, where she could finally give voice to her experience. It was painful. There were tears, there was anger, there was a deep, profound sadness for the girl she used to be. But with each word, the monster in her head seemed to shrink a little. The psychologist taught her grounding techniques to use when she felt overwhelmed by a flashback or a panic attack. Simple things like focusing on the feeling of her feet on the floor or naming 5 things she could see in the room. These techniques were like anchors, pulling her back to the present moment, reminding her that she was safe now. She also learned about cognitive processing. This involved challenging the distorted thoughts that the trauma had created. Thoughts like, "it was my fault," or "I am permanently damaged." The psychologist helped her see that the blame belonged solely to Mr. X. She was a child. He was the adult in a position of power. It wasn't her fault. This was a turning point. Lifting the weight of that undeserved guilt was like taking her first full breath after being underwater for too long. The healing was not a straight line. There were good days and bad days. Some days she felt strong and hopeful. Other days, a small trigger, a particular smell, a certain tone of voice could send her spiraling back into fear. But she learned to be patient with herself. The psychologist reminded her that healing is a journey, not a race. Each step, no matter how small, was progress. Slowly but surely, the light started to return to Njeri's eyes. She started reading again, finding comfort and escape in the pages of a book, just like before. She reconnected with her friends, who had missed her terribly. She even started to laugh again, and the sound was music to her parents' ears. Her relationship with her parents, which had been strained by the unspoken tension, began to heal too. They learned how to support her without being overbearing, how to listen without judgment. They attended family therapy sessions to understand her experience better and to heal as a unit. Njeri's story is still being written. The scars of her trauma may never completely fade, but they no longer define her. They are a part of her story, a testament to her incredible strength and resilience. She is learning to live with them, not under their shadow. She is proof that with the right support from family, from professionals like psychiatrists and psychologists, it is possible to navigate the aftermath of trauma. Healing is not about forgetting what happened. It's about learning to live a full and meaningful life in spite of it. It's about reclaiming your story and writing your own ending. If you or someone you know is struggling with the weight of a traumatic experience, please know that you are not alone and help is available. Reaching out is a sign of immense courage. The journey to healing may be long, but it is a journey worth taking. Njeri's story shows us that even after the darkest storm, the sun can and will shine again. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to heal. You deserve to find your light again. There are people who want to help you find it. Thank you so much for listening today. If this story resonated with you, please consider sharing it. You never know who might need to hear it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that aims to inform, inspire, and support. Take care of yourselves and each other.